Rent. And that previous night, Jonathan said, "You got it. You finally got it," and he was happy. I remember getting the call in the morning. I believe it was Jim Nicola called me up. I turned and I grabbed the phone and I go, hey, what's going on? I'm thinking like, change the schedule. What's going on? What did I do wrong? Or something that we need to adjust. And he told me, Jonathan just died last night.
Rent was a cultural touchstone, and the man who created the musical never even got to see how much notoriety it achieved. So in the mid 1980s, So in the mid 1980s, a young and aspiring composer named Jonathan Larson arrived in New York City with dreams of making a mark in the world of musical theater. And I mean, how many of us theater kids can relate to that, right? Eager to pursue his passions, he immersed himself in the vibrant artistic scene of the East Village and embraced the bohemian lifestyle. So Larson worked on various musical projects while he was trying to find his way, including his first attempt at his successful play, Superbia. So Jonathan faced a lot of harsh realities when it came to financial instability and funding when it came to Superbia. To make ends meet, he took on a series of day jobs, from waiting tables to bookkeeping, all while grappling with the cost of living in the expensive city that is New York, especially when you live near Broadway. And I mean, technically, Jonathan Larson was living that struggling artist lifestyle that we all hear about so much and talk about. But hey, that's how it is sometimes. We struggle and we push to get our dreams. Larson's determination to balance his creative endeavors with his financial responsibilities became a defining feature of his early career. His living conditions, or notably a small, heatless apartment on the Lower East Side, anyone who lives on the Lower East Side understands that, mirrored the struggles of the characters he would later create in his play Rent. The daily grind of supporting himself while pursuing his artistic vision took a toll, but Larson remained dedicated to his craft. I wonder what Rent character that reminds you of. Probably a few of them anyway. The musical Rent premiered on Broadway in 1996. Who was alive when that happened? I was. Am I telling my age? I'm telling my age. Revolving around the lives of a young group of artists, we see the importance of themes of love, poverty, and the fleeting nature of. Wait, hold on. Sorry, that's not right. Here we go. In the heartbeat of the East Village pulses the struggles of young artists in the face of love, friendship, and the stark realities of life.
And that we wanted him to see it. We decided that we were going to do the show, we were going to do the preview, but we were going to do it as a reading in his honor to celebrate.
Written by Jonathan Larson, Rent is based on Giovanni Puccini's opera La Boheme, which has the themes I mentioned previously before I went on to restart, of course. La Boheme is set in the Bohemian district of Paris in the 1830s. The characters in Rent are loosely based on Larson's own friends and experience, as well as the characters from the opera La Boheme. Hence, La Vie Boheme, the song.
There's a part where Mimi and Angel start singing, to handcrafted beers made in local breweries, to yoga, to yogurt, to rice and beans and cheese. Daphne and I instinctively start to look at each other. She's at my left, I'm to her right. We look at each other. And she starts crawling like a cat onto the table. And I start crawling onto the table like a cat. And we start doing our full choreography. And by the end of that number, everybody exploded into complete full choreography. It was just wonderful. It was energy that cannot be contained. We decided during intermission that we had to go full costume. Basically, we were going to do the show. It could not be contained. We had to do it.
Rent is a reimagining of said opera, based during the late 1980s and early 1990s. This focuses more on the friends dealing with issues such as love, friendships, as well as the HIV and AIDS epidemic of the time. Larson's work on Rent can also be seen as a form of advocacy and a call for awareness about the HIV/AIDS pandemic. Through the characters and narrative, he sought to humanize the people who were affected by the epidemic and challenge the society perceptions of them. The musical contributes to a broader conversation about compassion, empathy, and understanding in the face of a health crisis. We'll get into whether or not many of the characters are as deserving as they believe they are in another video, maybe, if I decide to do those kind of deep dives at one point. I probably won't. Jonathan's personal connections with HIV and AIDS was deeply impacted, and it was a tragic aspect of his life. The HIV/AIDS epidemic was a pervasive and devastating crisis during the 1880s and 90s, particularly in the artistic and the LGBTQ plus communities. Larson, like many others, witnessed this profound impact of the disease on his friends and loved ones, and even tragically lost several close friends to it. And his personal losses deeply influenced his perspective on life, love, and mortality. Rent provides a social commentary on the government's response to HIV and AIDS and the lack of accessible health care to those in lower economic standing, or in communities of color. It highlights the struggles of those living with the virus and the urgency of addressing the crisis with empathy and action. The character of Mimi is portrayed as a young woman living with HIV. Her storyline reflects Mark Larson's awareness of the stigma and challenges faced by the individuals with the virus at the time. She is far from the only character or even the saddest, but the musical addresses the complexity of love, fear, and acceptance in this context. The title of Rent itself even has a dual meaning. Can you guess what it is? Not only does rent refer to the financial struggles of paying rent, but it also symbolizes a very important theme of the show, the concept of living for the moment and not worrying about the future. So now we're renting the moments in our lives because they don't last forever. Larson's goal was to create relatable, multidimensional characters that would resonate with a broad audience while still capturing the spirit and struggles of the people he knew and the community he was a part of. Now, I don't know if these characters necessarily resonated with broader audiences, but it definitely did its niche job and still wanted to capture the spirit and struggles of the people he knew and the community he was part of. The worst part, though, Larson died the night before the play premiered off Broadway, meaning he never got to see his dreams come true. And isn't that a fear that a lot of people have, that they go before they ever see their dreams come true? Some critics attribute the play's success to the fact that he did indeed die, believing it wasn't actually as good as it is acclaimed to be. And unfortunately, that's just something that you have to decide whether or not you believe. Rent premiered on Broadway in 1996 and closed after 12 years with 5,123 performances, the second longest running Broadway show at the time. It won several awards, including 4 Tonys and a Pulitzer Prize for Drama. The play was revived in both 2011 and 2005 film adaptation was released with the original cast, which is one of my favorite things about the film version of Rent, is that you get to see the original cast in it. Rent became a cultural touchstone, and it's a shame that Larson never got to see his dreams come to fruition.
We finished off the show, and I remember, hearing that last "No day but today," and then I come out and I sit down with everyone, and after it was done, there was no applause, and someone from the back said, "Thank you, Jonathan Larson." It's a special show. It wasn't just a phenomenon. It wasn't just a financial success. It was a political socio movement, that changed lives.